evening, everyone. So with this round table, we unfortunately finish our opening week with events, educational events, but of course we have a party after that. But with content, it's the last event with content. The name of this round table is Collective Response, because that's the theme of our festival this year. Why this theme? I can say just a few words. We've noticed that there is a big movement in the Slovene scene of photography, and not only Slovene scene of photography, but also from other countries, of photographers joining your forces to do your process, to grow together, to create together. When I was younger, I was also part of a collective in São Paulo, and somehow I think this sparked on me the desire of discuss the thematic of collective, maybe because I miss my collective, maybe, I'm sure. So, and in our open call this year, among the 20 photographers, the 20 projects that were selected, 3 of you are collectives. Anna and Jakob, that were here sitting before, and you 4. Yeah, that's it. So I give the word to you, so you can start the discussion. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Well, welcome everyone. When Fernando invited me to chair this session and to moderate it, there was a moment after I said yes when I was like, okay. So we have a number of presenters that is almost a decent audience. We have, they come from very different backgrounds, they do different projects, some of them work in collectives, some of them are creative duos, they do different kind of work. Some of the work is shown at Kran Photo Fest, other work isn't. I haven't followed most of them before. You know, we have a limited space of 1 hour, so what could possibly go wrong? But then on the way to Kran, my car broke down, so I know. And that is, in a way, good news, because then, you know, what could possibly go wrong after that? As Fernanda said, the topic of this discussion is collective response, and it has to be collective, right? There are a lot of presenters, as you can see, and there's no way I could do justice by introducing them. So the way we want to do this is to give the word to our guests to present themselves, to briefly present their work, and then we will go into the discussion. Because there is this sense that the collective work within the sphere of photography is on the rise. As Fernando said, it can be noticed in the projects that are being produced, that are exhibited, and so on. But there's also quite some buzz recently in the literature, in publications on photography, also in conferences on photography. There are, for example, 2 books with major publishing houses that were issued this year on the topic of collaboration and photography. So after we have this participatory introduction, we want to address this assumption that the collaborative work is gaining on the prominence, address this, or maybe even challenge this notion. Because in most of these publications that I came across, there's this moment when they say, well, photography has changed to this, at the moment, well, in this point in time, it's changed so that we could also start redefining photography as a collaborative effort. That it's time to move away from this inherited art historic position that a photographer is a single author, and that photography is about single authorship. And well, most of you will probably agree that we could say, no shit, Sherlock, right? It has always been collective endeavor in many ways, on many levels, and we'll try to unpack this notion after these brief presentations. So I will give the word to
Marieke. Yeah, my name is Marieke van der Velde, and I work together with Brink, who's there. And first of all, we are a married couple, so that's how it existed. And for us, it's a little bit different because we both work individual, and we do a lot of. Yeah, here you see us. Working together. We do a lot of individual assignments, but next to that we make projects, and there we work together. So we make the ID together. Philip is the one who's filming, and I'm the one who is doing the photographs, but we're helping each other. We directing together, we are doing the edit together. Well, Philip is holding the flash, but I am guiding him while filming, and that's how we do it. And yeah, that's a little bit how we work together. So, and we also don't have production or something. We do everything ourselves in our projects, the crowdfunding, production, so the acquisition, so everything is together. This was Afghanistan. Yeah. This was Athens after filming. Afghanistan. A lot of pictures, but this was in Greece. Those people were just came out of the sea with rubber boats. We brought them to a village. Afghanistan. A lot of pictures. I didn't know that. Greece. But maybe I can give the microphone because then you can see the pictures and.
I'm Jean-Marc Caimija, and we work together with Valentine Piccinni. And we are a duo since 11 years. And we come from different background, but we have a lot in common. And I am still a journalist, music journalist, and musician and photographer and art curator. So art graduate. So a lot of different stuff coming together, and we do documentary photography. And yes, indeed, working together was a real plus for our career in many senses, and we have a very defined kind of language that we build together from our different experiences. And as you said, we do everything by ourselves, and we are freelancers. And together with photography, we do also video, journalistic, all the journalistic work, and all what is needed to a modern photography-based, visual-based profession, which is a full-time job. And so being a duo, it's a very productive way to handle this kind of modern way of storytelling, and which is photography, but it also embeds a lot of other things, from videography to multimedia to journalism, of course. And here we are presenting this work, which is one of the chapters of our work in Ukraine. We've been working 10 years in Ukraine since the Maidan Revolution, and this project is the one which is exhibited, and it's about it's a portrait diptych-based work about women who are fleeing the war, and they are sheltered in Poland. And we interviewed and we met them just while they were crossing and being sheltered in this school that was set up. And so it's about a portrait tour, an interview, and an object. The object representing what was lost, and and it's a symbolic kind of way of recounting the war and the consequences on human being, on person, on people of the war.
Hello, my name is Matjažem, and I'm part of Inland Cooperative. We are 14 photographers, from 4 different continents. We've been together for 6 years, and we are all focusing on long-term projects. And the last 2 years, we started to work also on a same topic, so each one in their own country, working on the same topic, and we are planning some exhibition for the next year. And yeah, we are present usually in Arles or in Perpignan, and yeah, there is a video that shows some of our work as well. So I think that's enough for introduction.
Yeah, feels weird going from this because it's like, and all of this like relatively established collectives and Fotokult. I'm Ela, sorry not to, didn't mention. Fotokult is a collective of roughly right now 13 photographers who are all beginner photographers. We're all at the beginning of our journey, so we're all kind of experimenting and seeing where we stand with the medium, because we're all sort of in the age gap of roughly 20 years old to, let's say, 28 years old. It was started by 3 photographers who are basically friends, by Mark Breznik, Tina Bohins and myself. one day we were at this bus station coming from Ljubljana to Kran, and we were just friends at that point, and we said, we don't have a space and a place where photographers that are not maybe so established yet could meet and just talk about it or bounce ideas of each other. So we were like, why not be a place to each other? As sugar-coated as that sounds, it's true. And it's also something one of our members, Patricia, mentioned yesterday to me. And I truly think that's how the urgency for this happened. We've been together for a bit less than 2 years now. And we kind of started as just meeting with each other and have these meetings and taking trips and sort of talking about how do we see each other's work. And now we have this, we use Slack, and we have this separate group chats where we sort of, like, there's one specific one for equipment, one specific one for just photo critiquing, one specific one for labeled serious stuff, which I think is super funny still. But we sort of try to just give each other time and space where we can not be proper yet, but at the same time see where this medium takes us in a way. I think it's still like nice to have people your age sort of not knowing where you're going yet, but yeah, kind of also helping each other, covering a variety of themes and subjects. We all come from such different backgrounds. Some of us are photography students, but some of us are also, some of the collective are also members who study architecture, study graphic design. Some also finished their masters. So it's really a lot of people coming from these different backgrounds, but we all sort of use this one tool, accidentally being the camera in a way, to kind of express each other, I guess, but also, yeah. And sometimes when we take trips, we would also sort of, we wouldn't go there as to, let's make a project, but we would just sort of want to bring all of our, let's say, too many cameras, to be honest with you, analog and digital, and go to places where it kind of, wherever it takes us. And this is, for example, just a few different perspectives from when we went to cover on our own, of course, like not having any finances, of course, students. Hopping on a train, going with our 2 cars, and yeah, photographing the aftermath of the wildfires in Kras, for example, or the floods that happened not recently. And yes, this is sort of how we kind of give each other space to finish this up, not to be too long, but yes, beginnings and going to this journey of maybe not beginnings anymore, I would say. Yes.
Hi, I'm Peter. I represent Kela today. Kela is pretty much a very loose collective that's defined by the space. What a couple of us needed was a dark room, a proper dark room. We found a space. It was actually more than we needed, so we invited not exactly random people to join us, but acquaintances. So we don't define ourselves as a collective at all, or more and more maybe, I don't know. But every one of us has his own artistic practice. Most of us come from photography, but in very, very different ways, from conceptual art to theory to I work as a darkroom printer to no one actually does documentary photography. So I'm a little bit out of place here. But yeah, the collective is actually really loose. For this exhibition, we invited past members, present members, whoever wanted to join. We're more of a group of friends that do sometimes get invited to do a project like the one behind us in Škuc, which actually was a documentary project. It focused on independent art spaces in Ljubljana. And yeah, and we got invited this year again. And we tried to do something maybe a little bit different, a little bit interesting. So that's about it. Thanks.
Hi. Hi. My name is Jaka Teršek, and I'm here in the name of Študio. Actually, we are now. I think we are actually an accumulation of Fotokult and Kela in a way, because we have a space, but we're also a group of friends, mostly doing photography. So yeah, this is us. Also in the collective is we are all photographers, and we all met at the Academy of Fine Arts in Ljubljana, and we met right at the end of our studies, and we were thinking, yeah, we need a place where we can continue, and we also bought some equipment which we needed a place to have it, and then it eventually turned into a studio. But yeah, in the studio there is also Lucia Ros, Nick Eric Neubauer, Matic Pandel, Anja Smaka, and me. So yeah, it all started actually in a way with a place, because we have a place in Bežigrad where we work, where we meet. We also rented the place, and in a way. We all work on different projects. Mostly, I mean, some of us do more like documentary photography, others more art, and the whole idea is that we help each other. Whenever Lucia, for example, is setting up an exhibition, we come and help. When she was filming her video for a project, I was director of photography, Matic was editor, so we always jump into each other's project where our hand is needed in a way. We also had one group show. These are just some photos from our projects, because we all also work on commercial level, doing commercial projects. So these are just some Instagram screenshots. But yeah, we also have had our own show in Dobrovaga in Ljubljana, which was actually, I mean, we never collaborate on to make a new work, so this is also a bit new for us. It was back then, and we just had some fun here, and that's pretty much how we are still kind of figuring out what we can do as a collective. And yeah, looking forward into the future. That's it.
Okay, and my name is Ilija Tomanić-Trivundža. I'm a media scholar, specializing in visual culture. At some point I decided that it is a bit easier to study photography than to make photography, and that it might be a bit easier to make a living by being a photography scholar rather than by being a photographer. It might not be as noble as most of you have ventured on a different route, but that's why I'm here today, to pose questions and not give answers, right? Because we scholars don't have the answers, but we tend to pretend that we can pose questions. With this, I would like to go back to the thing that I mentioned, that there is this talk at the moment that it's time to, in a way, redefine photography as a more collaborative effort. And the comments usually come from the perspective that it's about time to reject the single authorship, or the author as a creator, as a individual artistic genius or a special storyteller. And basically I would because this assumption comes from scholars, I would pose the question, how do you feel about that? Is this a dilemma that's actually relevant to you, or maybe it's, maybe it's not. Maybe it's what the outside thinks. But your work is basically also defined by the outside. Right? So if anyone wants to respond to how is this collaborative effort in photography in tension with this dominant idea of individual artistic merit, creativity, how do you feel that in your work, if you feel it at all? But the question is open, not.
I think, but I mean, it's strange not to speak together because we are a duo. But okay, that's how it works. And I think, but maybe we think, that authorship is still very important. I mean, you have to deliver a signature in your work, because this is what defines you, what makes you happy, and this signature it's a combination of for us, we are both photographers, so of our artistic relationship and also personal relationship, of course. And so it's still important to have an authorship, a signature, which is different from other kind of work, because otherwise you are in a very competitive market, and the only way of coping with that is you have your own way of doing things, and they can be good or bad, but still it has a personality. But this doesn't to us it's not a problem being a duo. It's perfectly our vision. I mean, it's very coherent, and so we don't have to sign the single pictures. But we take all the advantages of being a duo, which I was mentioning before. We think that documentary photography in particular is really it's moving a lot, and storytelling is moving a lot, and embedding different medias is very important, and journalism and videography and music and multimedia. I mean, you really have to, it's really fun, it's really exciting to discover new things, to experiment with new media, and not be stuck to a very monolithic kind of approach to photography, which is completely out of time now. And so taking the best of both worlds, I think is the way to go. So having a very strong signature and being a collective or a duo, which is necessary to do a lot of work from start to finish, from creating a project to taking the pictures, to taking the footage, and to having contacts with the magazines, with the exhibitions, with festivals, with grants. Really, it's a full-time job. So when you are alone, this starts to be very difficult, in my opinion.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, photography world, as it's evolving, it's also becoming more competitive and harder, less funding, less publications. So before you had to be photographer, now you have to be social media manager, you have to be grant writer, you have to, be a researcher. And that's why if you don't get support from the outside, you can find within the collective. Someone is better if let's say, getting grants, you can contact them and get their help. Somebody is better with setting up a website, you get their help. So that's why we decided to pull together the resources and the contacts and makes things easier. So even if you are more established or less established, you are dealing with the same questions. Either it's about the gear or, about the advent of AI photography, where is it going, how to deal with multimedia and so on. And I think that's the biggest benefit of working with more people. Of course, you have to, be friends, put ego aside, and, as much as you give, you receive in the end.
I think for us it's a bit different because we yeah. What I was thinking, if you work with a lot of people, you also have to divide the money that you earn to many people. And are the magazines and the media also giving you the money for that? For us, it's a bit different because we have our own photography and film, and we make our projects, and we are not completely dependent on our projects for our living. So I was thinking about, but that is maybe a different question.
But it nicely ties into this. I mean,
Okay,
in a
because
sense, is it easier to work within a collective?
Yeah.
What are the benefits of this? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, we all do our personal projects, and you publish your own stories, and this is not something that you divide with the collective. But now when we're preparing a group project, we are pulling resources, as I said, as a context to make a contact list or to make the video presentations or to get sponsorship. You know, someone knows a person at Fuji, the other one knows a person with Hanemule. And then, you know, you do a group presentation and try to get the money together to do these presentations or little publications. So we all have individual practices, but now doing also a project together. So this is how we work. We try to adapt this cooperative and move it away from the structures that used to exist, like Magnum, Seven, Nur, which were behemoths. They were like huge, lots of people, you know, taking percentage of every project, let's say, that you done. So we are smaller, more flexible, and readjusting all the time. So we also have always 5 people. They are the, let's say, the core who also make the decisions. And these 5 people also changes every year, let's say. So you can be part of decision making, see what was done before, better, what you can improve. So we switch tasks. We also use Slack. And let's say then we have a committee for grants and competitions. We have a committee for corporate work. We have a committee for education. And since we work like NGO, we're also trying to give something back. So let's say this year we try to do something, give something back, and also find new solutions how to promote photography. So this year in Arles we did one event, and it was actually speed dating for photographers. Yeah. So we used the system of speed dating that you might be or not aware of, and we connected young photographers with the experts. So we got editors, we got gallerists, and then we got young photographers, and it was for free. And then you had 2 minutes with each expert. We had a like nice setup, wine, music, and then after 2 minutes you swap. And everyone was skeptical in the beginning. It's like they were a bit mocking almost at us. But everyone also trusted the inland because we usually come up with some good ideas, and they agreed to participate. And they were all happy because same as with the dating, you see instantly if there is chemistry, if there is something. There was no photo showing. It was more judging the personality, how you can talk about your project. Also the editor or the expert was talking. And if there was chemistry, they exchanged contacts and they could talk after. If there was no chemistry, 2 minutes you can talk about weather, music, whatever. You're not feeling wasting time, which can be sometimes at portfolio review. If it's a bad match, you're just like, okay, 15 more minutes.
So in a way, we could also see this growth of collective or collaborative work as a response to the market, to the shrinking market for financial support, for more competitiveness and so on. Yes.
Maybe just to answer your question about the authorship. I mean, I will not talk for Študio, but I was also part of a collective before that, Photosfera, and it was 5 photographers, and we published a project, Postcards from Slovenia. And I think it's always like how you talk to each other and how you make a deal. Because for us it was okay, we are now doing a book. we will mix all the photos, and it will not be signed like which photo is from who. And we really like that idea because at the end, now after looking back at the years, I mean, I'm looking at the work and I'm sometimes thinking, is this my photograph or no? And it's really nice to see that the general idea kind of came through, not knowing if it's mine or if it's of some other photographer's work. And this, I really think it's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, obviously financial reasons are a big point of collaborating, or any practical reasons for that matter. Like everyone mentioned, you need help with video editing, Photoshop, whatever. But I think or just as important is just the exchange of ideas, especially if you have a pretty wide collective. A conceptual artist will look at a project completely different than I would. And it's nice to talk about everyone's project with as varied people as possible. But usually at the end, the project has to be your own.
I also think it's interesting because I think for example, like in Fotokult right now, there's like, I would say for beginning, quite a lot of us, like I would say it's really 13, maybe even like 15 now. But I think at the beginning we used to think, even when we were talking about it, we were like, okay, we have to set up a website, we have to we have to be alive on Instagram, and you know, like also you mentioned, you kind of have to be a social media activator even right now to kind of promote yourself. And we sort of thought about collective as we also have to kind of match aesthetics, we have to use the same design. We should sort of work on similar themes, but we quickly realized we cannot force it, and that our current strength is also in the fact that one of the members is almost fully a concert photographer now. I'm doing way more conceptual stuff, which is completely different. And you know, like that's also the strength, our strength right now is in those differences. Because if we only looked at, I don't know, if I only looked at other conceptual artists, or someone would only ever looked at concert photography, there would be no learning point. And for us, that's exactly what we're trying to do. Like, I also have to see some more reportage-based work. It's, I don't know, I think it's elevating us more than diminishing this idea of being a group. Yeah.
If we try to unpack this notion of collective work, in photography, I think it has to do with the level of not only of production but also exhibition, and also on the level of production we have the collaborative in a form of how do you work and who do you work with. But there's also then it's not just the who question; it's also the how question, and I think it comes across in a lot of your projects that it's a collaboration between the photographer and the subjects, not just how you work. But then on the other hand, we also have this collaboration when it comes to exhibition. So it's collaborating with the viewers and also collaborating with the institutions that publish and exhibit the work. Could you comment on any of these? Which aspects of this collaborative work are most important to you, or show mostly in your projects? The who does it, the how, the collective how, or the exhibitory how?
You mean also in personal projects of each members of the collective?
So it's how you work together? Or
Yep. So we have talked about how you work in a different ways, how you work together, right? But it's also not, the collaborative can also be seen as how you work with the subjects, right? With the people you photograph, with the topics that you cover, that you address. Which of the aspects would be more interesting for you?
But sorry, there is a part I don't understand. You mentioned about the you mentioned about the exhibitions. What has to do with the fact of dealing with your subjects? This is the only part that I didn't get.
Okay. I mean, when it's about exhibition, it's often you have to collaborate with the curators, you collaborate with institutions, you are bound by their ideas of what is an art project, what can be financed, what do you want to show, censorship, and so on. So, you know, there's often this talk about collaboration as if it's a unified thing.
So
but it appears on many levels.
So you say how you deal with your subject. They can be the subject of your story on the ground, and they can be the subject of your work in a gallery, or maybe for us, for example, it's all the press. We have to deal with all the photo editors and stuff like that. Okay, so both things on the ground with the subject, and then while doing your yes.
And then who's doing who?
Okay, no, just to clarify.
Yeah.
Whose stories do you tell, basically? You know?
Yeah, but you mean to say like who is doing what? Is that the thing, Philip? Yeah. Yeah, but is that the yeah, oh, in that way, yeah. Well, in our latest project, The Children of the Labyrinth, what we often do is that the stories that we are telling are not our stories, and it's not us telling the stories of others, but we really try to create a setting where people can tell their own story. And this is that in our project, people wrote letters to their children, people who were forced to flee, and therefore they could tell their own story. That's how we collaborate with the people that we have in our projects. The people in our project are very, very important. We know exactly who they are, and we are following them for years. I'm not sure if I.
It's a good point. Yeah, I don't know. I think for us it's very simple. Being a couple, man, woman, gives us access to very complicated situations, much more easily. We are trusted, and we can give our trust to our subject. So we really have a very, maybe it's also belongs to the personality of each of us. But being a duo, it's reassuring to people we meet, and they give us access to their lives. And so this is very important for us, because we work a lot with subject, with human beings. It's always focused on this kind of topics. So, as you said, I mean, for us, our subjects are really crucial, and being in two, it makes it's like a key, and that makes all the relationship smoother, and so it's very important. And then, of course, same thing goes with the professional side. I mean, when we split our duties when we talk for the editors, and then she's much more, for example, at ease with meeting people, and so it's easier, of course. But yes, I would say that it's very important on the ground. On the ground, being a duo makes a difference.
I mean, photography, it's collaborative process from start to finish, right? If you are a fashion photographer, you have to work with models, stylists, makeup artists, production. If you're like a documentary photographer, working with scientists, for the research historians, with the people on the ground. So again, it's not just that you come, click camera, you have to be psychologist, you have to be sociologist, just to create the work. And after the work is created, you have to know how to communicate it. You have panels, you have exhibitions, you have editors. So especially in this day and age, there is no space to be a problematic, drunk artist that you just create good work and you think that people are gonna, bound to you. So it's everything. It's collaboration, basically.
I also kind of thought of this, not to be too philosophical, but I sort of thought of this of Brian Eno, producer and musician, who talks about this idea of genius as opposed to genius, not to compare anyone to genius right now, but and I think it's interesting, like, to sort of, with your question, I started thinking about what does collaboration even mean in general, like in any medium, in any art medium, and I think he talks about genius as opposed to genius in a sense of that genius means intelligence of a whole community, as opposed to one person being in this solitude and having only these ideas. And he sort of mentions Picasso, for example, and how we all kind of think of him as a genius, but he was a part of a whole scene. And when you're part of, even just as Fotokult, as friends with each other, you affect each other in different ways, not just, I think even theme-wise sometimes you see something made by someone else. So I think that's also a collaboration of the environment with the environment that surrounds you. I feel like that's sort of my take on your question. It's different, but I guess.
I think everything's a collaboration. It's just how you define the. Nope. Sorry. How you define the. Shaman Vim. I'll let you do it. Yeah, we got it. How you define the interpersonal relationship? Is it photographer assistant? Is it actual collaborators? Is it mentor? What's the opposite? Mentoree. But yeah, I think the notion of this genius artist probably never existed at all. But it certainly doesn't now. So yeah, everything's a collaboration on some level.
It's easiest if you can agree, right? Yeah, that was my underlying goal to get this idea out that photography has always been collaborative, that it is, it's one of the fields that has probably mythologized the solitary genius to a significant extent. And it is time to move beyond that, but it's also time to slowly wrap up this, I think. So I'll pose a slightly different question, because Matjaž mentioned AI in the process. Is AI collaborative?
A lot, totally. I mean, AI, it's like the collaboration of the whole world, and it's coming to something apparently new. It's the apotheosis of collaboration. Yes, for sure. It's crazy, but it's like that.
But without authorship, right?
Yes, without authorship, yes.
Are you sure you want to end with this?
Yes, and it's a bad thing. It's strange, and we are all scared about that. But I think we are overrating the power of AI, which will become, in my opinion, something that it's just embedded in. I mean, it won't be a substitute for things that are real. I mean, it can be something very, for example, for commercial photography, I think it can be something very shocking, because you can just build a photography of a car perfectly lit and with no money. And this is a bit, for commercial photography, it's very strange. You can, food photography and etc. etc. And so some jobs can be, can feel the impact of artificial intelligence. But on many other levels, this will just be there and stay there. I mean, I hope so.
Yeah, I was always joking with friends, like, okay, yeah, it's gonna replace commercial photographers, but we documentary photographers, will be hard to replace, or we can always survive doing weddings, events. And then a friend was like, yeah, I just saw a company, they set up 360 cameras around the space, and then the software capture each person perfectly. Now, no blinking, it capture, collected the photos and make the photo when the person was perfectly smiling and perfectly lit. So let's see. I hope your prediction is gonna age well.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still a bit old-fashioned, maybe, but I think that if you want to tell the story of others, that you always need to speak to the others. And I think if you are more conceptual, then there's a big chance for AI. But for telling the stories of others, and that's what we are doing. I think in that part, AI is not very big. Till now, it's not a very big deal. But in our commercial work, it is a big deal. It is also interesting.
Yeah, I don't have any deep thoughts on this one, but I just actually ironically did this series with AI, and it's yeah, not sure I recommend, but I think if you use it as a tool, and it basically I kind of manipulated myself into thinking that okay, but it's still generating my ideas because I had a concept and I worked with it, so in a way I might have worked for AI, but it also worked for me. So I also think it's a bit overrated that it will completely take over. I think feelings will never be able to, if there's a human experience and then connecting to AI, I don't think it can go that far, but just a very personal thought.
I'm not that optimistic, but no, but I work in the darkroom. I don't really. Digital has already killed my everything. Yeah, I'm ready for everything.
I see him in darkroom. I'm there with the chemicals.
Yeah, I just like that. I just click in Photoshop and it automatically selects. That it's no more hours of zig 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 zig. Come on, but still, at the end of the day, I think we will be interested in stories that are made by people. I mean, okay, if there will be books written and music already been made by AI. Okay, but still, you're always interested in the content because interested in who's behind it, like why is someone doing this. It's not just about the product, or maybe not a best word for artwork, but you're always interested in like for the intentions and why and how.
Yep. And if I can add something to it, as a media scholar, we have seen so many ends of the world with every new medium that has arrived on the scene, that I can certainly concur that this will not be the end of photography or photographers. So maybe that's a happy note to end the talk with. Yes. Are there any questions or comments? Vocal disagreements?
There is a party now.
Yes, that's why everyone's. Yes. So then let's remove the only obstacle between you and the party. Thank you.